you so very much, the chairman of the occasion, uh, our own very dear Mr. Dotun Suleiman, MFR, that I've had opportunities of interacting with over the decades. The chairman, CSTC Governing Board, Justice Bukola Adebiyi, CEO Corona Schools Trust Council, Mrs. Adeyoyin Adeshina, and our very able provost, Dr. Olajumoke Mekiliwa. I'd like to single out in recognition Professor S.G. Odewumi. Professor Odewumi stands very tall as a professor of transport studies, a globally renowned professor of transport studies. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply, deeply honored to be asked to give this lecture, which is the first. That gives me a special joy to give this first public lecture. The topic has been announced is quality, standards, and curriculum delivery in tertiary education in the COVID-19 era. I'd like to begin, but just before we begin, I will say that I find it quite exciting about the thrust of the work in Corona College of Education, which is raising a new breed of teachers. So talking about new breed, it means we can compare the old breed with the current breed and then the new breed. So, on what attributes are we going to compare these breeds so that we have a focus what Corona College of Education we're expecting it to produce as new breed? Let's take content knowledge. Content knowledge is the knowledge of your teaching subject: chemistry, biology, history, geography. For the old breed will be defined as those teachers who went through probably grade 2, NC, B.Ed or BSc Ed and all that. In those days will be defined. Let me define those days. Those days will be defined as pre-1990. Pre-1990. We got them so well prepared in content knowledge. So they knew their onions, they knew their chemistry. Indeed, my chemistry teacher in St. Malachy's College in 1965, my chemistry teacher had NCE, and it was so good. What about now, the current breed? They are very, very low content knowledge. So the teacher, you expect that there should be a gradient where the teacher is and where the student or the pupils are. That's not what we find these days. I'm not making an absolute statement. There are exceptions to this. But the preponderance of the teachers we train out today have very low content knowledge. So that's the current breed. Now the breed that we're expecting from you, Dr. Mekiliwa, and management and the council, our daddy, Mr. Dotun Suleiman, MFR, is a breed that will have very high content knowledge. Let me go very quickly to this because we have quite a few other things to talk about. Pedagogic knowledge is the knowledge of how to teach. And this includes knowledge of how to use the chalkboard, knowledge of how to write lesson notes or lesson plans, the classroom management. Those days, they were really good. I've defined old breed, by the way. Current breed, I'm defining as those that are in practice now. Especially those that had their qualifications, teachers' qualification in the 1995 or up to here. But fair, they're quite fair. They know how to write lesson notes, lesson plans. They know how to manage classes. What are we expecting from this college, this great college of education? We expect the new breed to be very high in pedagogic knowledge. Pedagogic content knowledge, that attribute, is a combination of pedagogic knowledge and content knowledge. That is the knowledge of how to teach your chemistry. How Professor Geodome can teach his GIS or his geography or his transport. Very high in those days. Fair now, we expect to be very high. Motivation. The teachers were motivated to come to work and deliver their subject matter. These days, they are forced to come with a very low motivation. We expect the new breed of this college to be very high. Learning how to learn is low. You can't know everything. In another few years, the amount of knowledge that you have will double every 12 hours. Every 12 hours. Now, by artificial intelligence, it's about every 12 months, every year. But in another few years, it will be every 12 hours. So learning how to learn is a major attribute. In those days, it was high. The teachers will go look for information low these days, but we expect that for Corona College of Education should be very high. Your new breed. Communication skills, oh, very nice. Now is very low. Let me define what I mean by communication skills. Communication skills will mean your use of language, your use of English, written or oral. It is super poor. I get alarmed when I see lesson notes written by teachers or even memos written by people. It is laden with errors, army of errors. Plural noun with singular verb, all manner of grammatical issues there. And so I'll define what I mean by communication skills. We expect that for your college, our college, it should be very high. Use of technology for instruction was passable in those days because we didn't have so much technology, but now it's low. We expect it to be very high. The last bit here is 21st century skills. What are 21st century skills? There are about 15 skills: teamwork, problem-solving skills, curiosity, and all of that, and all of that. They were not 21st century. It was, the old breed people just managed. That's why I didn't give them any score. But now it's really poor. We expect that. We expect from our college to be very high. So back, I said just before we begin. So we are into quality standards and all of this that you can see on the screen. Now, let's have a debate. And that's good. That's the topic. The topic that you give to me has generated that debate. Is the standard of education in Nigeria rising or falling? So if I gave you time, you all, queue behind whether it's rising or falling. What I've found, ladies and gentlemen, is that everybody in Nigeria today is an expert in education. Shame. Why am I saying shame? Because let's take the medical people. They want to come to our terrain in education and pontificate. This is a specialized area, like their medicine. They will not allow you, education people, to come and talk in their medical thing, medical practice or medical arena. The lawyers do the same. But lawyers will come and pontificate about education. I always tell them, no, education is specialized. We have specialized language here too. So the engineers, the same thing, all of them, all the other professionals. But education, anybody will come and pontificate. So let's take this debate on. And that's going to lead me to operational definitions of two words that we have used in the title of this public lecture: quality and standards. Let's take standards first. Now, standards in education are the minimum specifications for knowledge, for skills, for attitudes, or values of an educational system. In other words, let's take the West African Examination Council or NECO syllabus, or for the College of Education, the NCCE minimum standards. Those standards define what the minimum should be. What should you learn at 100 level of a particular course, 200 level, the ratios for staff, students, the equipment, student ratio, the library holdings ratio, and all of that, and the character that they should display. So those are the standards, minimum specifications. What about quality? The quality of education, ladies and gentlemen, is a measure of how well those standards have been attained. So I'm taking you back to, this is a book that's coming out in a few months. It's a book that is like the earth shaker in terms of quality assurance. Contributions from all over, the equivalent of AUC executive secretary from all over the world. They've contributed to this book. It's going to be out in a few months. So that's the debate. So what's the answer? For me, the truth of the matter, and I'm saying it with all technical backing, educational technical backing. The truth of the matter is standards are not falling. Standards, ladies and gentlemen, are not falling as defined in education. If you took the WAEC, curriculum, if you like, syllabus, exam syllabus, when I was doing my SSC, when I was preparing for the West African School Certificate in 1967, all that I needed, the content. When I look at what WAEC expects, the standards that WAEC expects for students SSCE E2020 or 2021, I get alarmed. We couldn't reach all these things. We couldn't get to all the standards had been raised. The same thing, if your children, Dr. Bekiliwa, your children, walk back in time to when you were in school. Look at what you were asked to do in arithmetic or mathematics and English and science. Look at what your kids are asked to do. Those are the minimum standards. So standards, ladies and gentlemen, are not falling. They are rising by the technical sense in education. Let these other non-educational people come and talk their grammar. But the truth of the matter, in educational literature, in measurement literature, is that standards going up. But what is falling? Quality is falling. Because the products that are measuring up to the standards are depressing. So you can say this person, BSc Economics, MBA, PhD, 4 children of this Baba. And the landlord said, look, throw away this one. We don't get degree because his man is looking like one kind. The Baba said, he's the one earning money. The rest are unemployed. All these one big certificate are unemployed. Quality. So let's get back. Let's get on to curriculum delivery. After looking at quality, looking at standards, let's look at curriculum delivery. So, what's the curriculum, ladies and gentlemen? Now, if you check the educational literature, you find a plethora of definitions, many of them. Some will say the courses offered by an educational system. Some will say the set of standards, objectives, and concepts required to be taught and learned in a given course or school year. And all of this. Plenty more. See them. Now, for the purpose of this public lecture number 1, I've defined the curriculum as a set of activities that are planned and implemented for the achievement of an institution's educational goals. That leads us to the last of them, curriculum delivery, which is the heart of the matter for this lecture. Curriculum delivery is the totality of all the processes that are involved in implementing the curriculum. You may find this in this lecture that I gave at NUC about 4 years ago. So through where now? Lectures. That's curriculum delivery. Through lectures, through practicals, through field trips. Professor Jode will want to take his students on a geographical field trip or transport-related matters and all of that, and it's delivered through teacher-student material interactions, co-curricular activities. That reminds me of one governor some years back. He said a student on rest in the Nigerian university system. He said, yes, students can never rest. How can they rest? They have to go for lectures. They have to go for practicals. Students can never rest. So curriculum delivery, now students on rest too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Cucullus non facit donatur. The hood does not make the monk. The curriculum does not make the quality. You can have a good curriculum. Let's go to Mars, planet Mars, or anywhere, go to heaven and go and bring curriculum from heaven. Because I hear Nigerians say, oh, curriculum of secondary schools, of universities, polytechnics, very dated, very outdated, very irrelevant. I take a position that yes and also no. I take two positions. Yes, the curriculum at the time you are publishing it is old. So you got to keep updating it. But no, because you can have the best curriculum in the world. If it's not properly delivered, there's an exercise in futility. That's the central message, one of the central messages of this lecture. Good curriculum delivery is what assures quality of the products. How do I know? Research that I've led over the last 30 years have converged, that I've led are from all the sources, converged to say that, look, if you look at this path diagram, we'll try to find out what are the explanatory variables for quality of graduates. What are the variables that contribute the most to the quality of graduates? Now, you have the Corona College of Education. You have your graduates at the end of 3 years NC or whatever, or if you're running degree programs, I don't know, maybe 4 years. So what are the variables that I can account for the quality? There are several of them. The teachers that are in your college or our college, the facilities that you have there, the curriculum, the quality of students that you take in, their reading habits, the exposure of practicals. But you see, if you look at these beta weights, these are standardized weights in the analysis. You find that this is 0.38. You can take it over 38%. It is not additive to say 100%. Look at curriculum delivery. 0.69 is the highest in this multivariate equation, the highest. What does that mean? It means that, look, have good curriculum in the place, facilities are there, quality of students, but if the curriculum is not well delivered, you are just hitting your head against a stone. So curriculum delivery, I'm so delighted when I saw in the title, curriculum delivery. That's the heart of the matter. When people say, oh, curriculum, let us know, I've said it, bring the best curriculum in the world, put down for Nigeria. In the midst of inadequate resources, in the midst of teachers who are not even willing to teach, in the midst of students who have poor reading habits. So let's proceed with two important follow-up questions. One is, how was it? Why was tertiary education curriculum? How was it delivered before COVID-19 and during COVID-19? Because we still did. Let me use some paging here. We still did for COVID-19. And the next question is, how should the tertiary education curriculum be delivered after God has removed this pandemic from Nigeria, from Africa, and the rest of the world? So curriculum delivery before COVID-19. I have a few graphs here, recent data from the National Universities Commission. And that's the only commission that has the recent data, because I try to look for data. I try to go to the website of the National Commission for Colleges of Education, NCC. There's a regulatory agency for the Corona College of Education. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't even find it on their site. I'm sure they have it somewhere, but I couldn't locate it. So NUC data show that curriculum delivery through lectures, you can see mainly through lectures. Tutorials, you can see about 30%. Practicals, just a little bit above 30%. And technology mediated teaching. That's for federal universities. Let's look at what happens in state universities. So you can see it's still mainly the same story. Even worse, I'm telling you that state universities, of the three categories of universities that we have in Nigeria today, federal, state, and private, the state universities present the worst case scenario in terms of several things. They are so poorly funded If you are talking about funding, everybody is not well funded, adequate funding. You can't get adequate funding, by the way, to anywhere in the world, adequate, but sufficient, to run the place. The state universities present the worst case scenario. Payment of salaries. You see, you are the mother. That's state government. All of them. All. I don't have an exception. You are the mother, and you say, hey, I don't have this thing. After giving birth to the child, yeah, go and look for food for yourself. A 3-year, a 2-year, 3-year-old child. I'm talking relativity. There's no Nigerian university to they 1948 was when University of Ibadan, the oldest university. Universities all over the world, centuries old. So you can't have a baby right now and say, okay, you go and fend for yourself. So that's what most state governments do. They just give the state universities a small fraction of what they need to run. And in the same breath, they will say, oh, don't charge fees or charge very little. It's an exercise in hypocrisy. And I told them, I keep telling them, I don't, no matter whose source is God, because my own goal is for quality to improve in the entire system. So these are the graphs for state universities. For private universities, you can see lectures still predominating, tutorials, practicals, better than what we had for the state universities. There are challenges, ladies and gentlemen, and we know these challenges. So I'm not going to spend so much time on this slide. But the data, the slide gives us data, empirical data to back what we already know. Low digital literacy of staff, poverty of students to work. They don't want to read anything. They just want to pass. Research deficit, erratic power supply. Sorry, there's an error in erratic there. Large student enrollment insecurity. Interruption to academic calendar. How will we have quality products? Get the best. Let the Professor SJ there with me. Give us the best curriculum in transport studies in the world. How will that, if you have all of these things, if you have challenge for the whole year, the university are on strike, so what are you expecting? So, and the rest that you can see on the screen, the challenges in the case of state universities are given on the slide. Good thing is that after this lecture, I've been sharing the slide with the organizers, and they may wish to share with everybody. Challenges system-wide relating to private universities. You have something there, highest for multiple tax, staff accommodation, spend of accommodation there as a challenge, time generated fund, and all of that. So let's look at curriculum delivery during COVID-19. You see my sequence, curriculum delivery before. I just showed you some data. Curriculum delivery now, this moment, the curriculum delivery during COVID-19. By March last year, government ordered all schools to close. So we all took over. And some modes of curriculum delivery sprang up. You have what we call the single mode, where teacher walks into the class and delivers his or her lecture or practicals or whatever and moves on. Nothing else besides. You have what we call single mode. Yeah, that's single mode face-to-face. You have single mode virtual. You don't see me, nothing. You just virtual. Everything 100% virtual. But you see, the two, like onions and tomatoes, when you want to cook better soup, you can just blend them. So when the two come together, you're looking at a dual mode. And that's blended learning. Now, the blending can be, you can see virtual learning one side, face-to-face one side, blended learning. You can have different degrees of blending. You can have virtual to be 10%, face-to-face to be 90%, depending on. So the paradigm for the paradigm that has shifted is here, blended learning, and like I said, you can have different colorations of blending. Let me give you some examples. The old mode would be, let's take this course, CHE 801, Environmental Chemistry. So face-to-face lecture, yes. Face-to-face practicals, yes. Face-to-face field work. That's what happened before COVID-19. So now, this is the emerging mode where the same course, hey, some virtual lectures, practicals, nothing they happen there because the lecturers will say me, I can't, there's no way I can teach you this one, this practical chemistry or anatomy or whatever by virtual. So zero. Field work, you call the thing field now. If you don't go field, nothing can happen. So zero. Now, the ideal blended mode, that's where we should be. The same course. So we have face-to-face and virtual lectures and examinations. The provost talked about in our welcome remarks about issues related to examinations, integrity. Very, very wonderful issues. So what about practicals? You have face-to-face and virtual practicals. We run in our Africa Center of Excellence. We have students who run practical face-to-face and also engaging in virtual practicals. The face-to-face field work. So that is what we have now. Let's look at the situation analysis in the heat where COVID-19 was hot. I'll go back. I'll take the entire spectrum from primary schools nationwide. Primary school, which concerns them. So only a few, just a handful, engage their pupils, are mostly private institutions. Lagos, I want to credit Lagos. Lagos did very well because I was monitoring, and we actually reported this because I conducted an Africa-wide study, and we reported this study in a top-line journal, in the top of a top-tier journal. So Lagos stood out very clearly. I think we had Rivers too, and the radio stations and all of that, as you can see on the screen. For secondary schools, a little bit better, 8%. For higher education, what happened? What happened was that we had about 20% nationwide, mainly private institutions, because the public institutions said, oh, no, we ain't going there. We are not. First of all, most were on strike. And then so, oh, no. As out of fear, say that those are be the thing. I'm sorry I'm using PG English, but just, this is a public lecture. So we have to dilute this thing. Not that my communication skill is bad, because we will say now, they abuse the teachers. So at the higher education level, that's what happened. There were challenges that led to all of those things to happen. Let's look at some of these challenges. The teachers had deficit in their capacity to deliver online education. Many of them didn't have the faintest clue about what this is. They could use WhatsApp and do all of that, but that is not online education. And internet service, very, very erratic and expensive. So all of these carriers, all of them, Glo, MTN, Airtel, excuse me, all of them were smiling to the bank during that COVID-19 lockdown and not providing quality service. So, and expensive, so that leading to many of the of our students and teachers not able to procure. Power supply, quite poor. Infrastructure for delivering decent education severely inadequate. And this last number 5 is quite important. At that time, some parents were out of job. Some were not paid, so they couldn't fund the education of their children. So the income revenue stream into the universities, polytechnics, across education, especially for private providers, came down. So it was a challenge for everybody. And then staff union strikes. That's a big problem. I'm sure that Professor Ejiode, who was chairman of ASU of LASU about 200 years ago, about a decade ago, can give us some antidote to this staff union strikes. Today is April 9th, 2021. What is the situation? Curriculum delivery. Now, all those challenges that I mentioned are still persistent. The challenges are still there. And what do we have? Adulterated blended learning. Only 2 days ago, I asked some postgraduate students attending software universities, first generation universities. I said, okay, oh, how are things progressing? Oh, very, very poor. I said, how? Said what the lecturer does is to dictate voice note, dictate the note on WhatsApp and send to them. And some of them, I mean, when they convene a meeting on Zoom, because they use the low end, the free one, after every 40 minutes, they ask them to log in again. And some students will be joining from inside bus. Some students will be joining from their bedroom, almost not well clothed, all manner of things like that. So that's adulteration of blended learning. As I speak now, the polytechnics, the academic staff of polytechnics are on strike. So these are challenges which are persisting, which are inhibiting curriculum delivery during this COVID-19 era, as I speak today. And there's inertia to change. Many people will say, oh, no, this kind of thing. No, I don't want to. But it's natural. Inertia to change is natural. But efforts must be made for that person to strive to change. Because the only thing is a phrase that everybody bandy about. The only thing permanent in life is change. So if you want to live successfully in the world, you have to change. But good news. We have some islands of successes. The National Open University of Nigeria, that God gave me the opportunity to chair the council. By the way, it is the largest university in Africa. We enroll over 600,000 students. Over 600,000 students. The next to us is the University of South Africa with about 400,000 students. And throughout the period, we were galloping on and improving the quality of our delivery system. We know there's one Dr. Ayo somebody, Aye or Basa, who is disturbing. Don't mark on this thing, please. Oh. Yeah, okay. So the example of National Open University is worthy of being cited because we are turning out to be the place to be. Lagos State University, throughout the period we're delivering both on site, we're delivering virtually. And then when things tidied over and the universities were asked to resume, we took it on. And of course, Corona College of Education is an island of success. We'd like to congratulate you. Now, what are the policy options for post-COVID-19 curriculum delivery? Ladies and gentlemen, we need for government to lead the development of a national blueprint to address the challenges that we're facing right now. And capacity building is an important track to work on. So the policy option is for capacity building for all stakeholders. All teachers, if you like, most teachers, if you cannot train all of them, must be trained in how to deliver e-learning. And then we should work towards cheap data. If you don't have cheap data, then the vehicle for delivering this thing will get the engine will knock. So efforts will be made by way of policy, option, and implementation to have cheap data. Delivering e-learning, blended learning with face-to-face and virtual. The students will need tools. The teachers will need tools. So there must be some mechanism for getting these tools, internet-enabled devices, available for our teachers and for our students at relatively cheap cost. And then we have to develop e-learning compliant software. We mustn't depend on other nations to deliver this, to develop this for us. But I feel so delighted that several of our youth are coming up with courseware on e-learning, and this is very praiseworthy. We must deliver homegrown platforms as mobile apps. I'm happy to let you know that my CTC approach, I'll come to it when towards the close. I've developed a mobile app which teachers can use to break barriers, download and use to break barriers to meaningful learning of science concepts. We have to address the power and connectivity issue, especially in the rural areas. And the provost talked about this in our welcome address. We have to install a robust quality assurance system. So the quality assurance mechanism will have to reflect this post-COVID-19 environment. I'm happy to let you know that I want to implement this Rasheed Blueprint. It's a blueprint of National Universities Commission on the rapid revitalization of university education in Nigeria. Executive Secretary led this team to develop this. All members of the Nigerian University Committee were part of developing this blueprint. It was bottom up. All senates, all faculty, everybody developed this blueprint. So you have issues relating to how we can conquer the dragon of access. Curriculum, how it can be engineered, how we can modernize and maintain facilities for teaching, learning, and research, how we can ensure adequate number of teachers, and all of this in this blueprint, all of this, how we can tackle academic corruption. Now, over the last 40 years, I and my members of my team have been researching how we can break the barriers to meaningful learning of any subject, but we've narrowed down to science. All the difficult topics in biology, chemistry, physics, ICT, mathematics, we probe them and we look for a method, an approach, and it's called the Cultural Techno Contextual Approach, CTCA. That is the new sheriff in town, CTCA. If you want to break barriers to meaningful learning of science post-COVID-19 era, by the way, I will send you a copy of this book. It's been reviewed by people all over the world. The provost are going to send you a copy of this book. So the solution that we're looking for does not rest in our bemoaning our situation and just blaming everybody, meeting on channels, TV, meeting on AIT or NTA or any of the media, and just say, oh, this thing. We have to take action. And I made reference to some of them earlier. We need to mount intensive capacity building, and with incentives. You want a professor in LASO, a professor in ABU, or this thing to come for training. Well, I will tell you, look, I have a few more years to retire. I don't think I need that kind of training. I'm 70 years, and I've just retired from Lagos State University, and I'm ready for more training. So, but what you need to do is to incentivize them. I don't need you to incentivize me because I know the benefit. And I keep telling them, I keep telling my colleagues in the university system, until the day when your last paycheck comes in, that's where you know, say, monkey, this is khaki no be leather. When your last paycheck, when you know, everything don't finish. Hey. But if you are tuned for the future, people will be searching for you. Like people are searching for Professor SG, they will be all over the world. So when he retires, maybe in 20 years or 30 years time, SG from LASO, is already ready, kitted. But talking seriously, we have to incentivize the people, give them some money, some honorarium to be able to participate in that. And we have to implement a national plan for online courseware development and work towards lowering the cost of data and bandwidth for all our students and, of course, our staff. Very importantly is number 3. While all of these things are going on, we have to conduct annual assessment of progress So Lagos State will conduct its own, Benue, Kaduna, Sambisa Forest people will conduct their own. But more importantly is the national assessment, so that we can know how we're going, and if there are challenges to be able to remediate before things get. But I have some worries before things get bad. I have some worries. To make this to happen, we need committed leadership. But this is a huge challenge. Let me tell you, I'm not talking about leadership of Buhari or of Sanwo-Olu or of. I'm talking about leadership at all levels. Leadership at the level of the department, at the level of the faculty, at the level of the college, at the level of the polytechnic, at the level of the university, at the level even of the family leadership. We have a huge challenge there. And this leadership challenge has refused to go away. That's my worry. I have another worry, which is corruption. Corruption, the thing done better society is now stage, I think, what is it, cancer stage 5? This one don't reach stage 7. So corruption is not free money for investment in education. I tell you what happened when we were about I think a month ago. I issued a press release and I said it's a shame that Nigeria was begging all these countries for vaccines. It's a shame. And I said, look, we can ask them for vaccine, but it should be vaccine for top up. After investing in our own vaccine production and we have produced our own vaccine, we can't make it for 200 million people, even if it is 100 million that are willing, because some people are not willing. Me, I don't take my own jab. I'm taking the other one on the 26th of June. So if we have a situation whereby the money that is meant to be invested in healthcare delivery, for vaccine production, to install a good laboratory and give plenty money to the workers there, researchers there, so that we can have our own vaccine. But what has happened? The money, most of the money, I'm conjecturing now, but my conjecture may not be too far from it. Take the money to Dubai, buy houses there, buy houses all over the place. And so the people that are begging for vaccines, they have invested their money in producing, invested in the health sector, and now you blow your own, and the prodigal son, you're not coming. No. They have to satisfy the people in first. So corruption is something, but how do we tackle it? I think we just go to, Nigerians will love to, we carry all our burden, to the throne of grace, to God. Or God, our Father in heaven, please, through our Lord Jesus Christ, please help us solve this problem. So I think we may get there. Then my worry again is that the economy is growing. Well, it's growing, but it's growing slowly. So it may be impacted negatively by the bad fortune of that slow growth in the education sector. Oh, breaking news. Breaking news is what? This is breaking news. Now, the National Investments Commission, under the variable leadership of Professor Abubakar Adamu Rasheed, MFR, MNI, MFR, FNAL, the best executive secretary that NUC has ever had, is concluding a massive curriculum review, which started about 3 years ago. By next week, Monday, that's why it's breaking news. By next week, Monday is when it's going to have the General Assembly for this, the workshop to conclude the massive curriculum review. So coming very soon is what you call the core curriculum and minimum academic standards for the Nigerian university system, CCMAS. This is, for instance, for agriculture. You're going to have for the 17 disciplines that we have in the system. I have some recommendations for our college. The first, you're talking about having a new breed, producing a new breed of teachers. Now, you must work relentlessly. Provost, you must work with your team relentlessly under the supervision of the chairman and members of council. Chairman of council, Mr. Dotun Suleiman, MFR, and the members, to produce a new breed of teachers who will score high, indeed very high, in content knowledge. in pedagogic knowledge, in pedagogic content knowledge, in motivation, in learning how to learn, in communication skills, in use of technology for instructional delivery, and 21st century skills. You need to work relentlessly. I know you have a strategic plan. I believe you do. And if you can tinker with this strategic plan in a way to embed this, to ensure that your teachers, you can't, I've been a mouth, you want to do new breed. If not be mouth, these are the areas that you need to pursue. You have to conduct a gap analysis of your teaching staff today, the teaching staff now. Do a gap analysis of them in the skills you desire to have in this new breed. In other words, what their own content knowledge, how it be, their pedagogical knowledge, how is it? How does it measure? The pedagogical content knowledge, how does it measure? Learning how to learn, how does it measure? So you have to do a gap analysis, and from the data arising from the gap analysis, work towards implementing a training program to bridge such observed gaps. SEC will give you the minimum standards, minimum curriculum, the courses. And what we find in the Nigerian university system is that this minimum is almost like maximum. You hardly have a top up from the universities. So they take the minimum to be the maximum. But for you, this college that is going to be the college that you point to of the future, you have to go beyond the minimum academic standards and be a model. And SEC will say, go to when they set accreditation teams and say, okay, where's your curriculum? And they show you, you've covered all of this and you have even added more. So we want you to be a model for SEC and for the rest of the world. There's what we call the 21st century classroom. It's a lab. If you want some advice on how to set that up for free, I'm going to give you some drawings and some ideas. 21st century classroom is a lab where you simulate how the 21st century students will be like. The 21st century classroom technology will be like. The 21st century, in terms of the curriculum, will be like. So, if you are training teachers, they get in there, they find the 21st century classroom. It's just like a simulator. It's just like an airplane simulator or any simulator whatsoever. Say, look, in the 21st century, you are going to find students who are not willing to read. So how do you deal with that as a teacher? So you are going to get in that 21st century lab students for your biology, they are not willing to read, and students who are disruptive, you're going to get them. It's going to simulate them. And technology that will be of the future, it will come. And then, so that is a good platform for micro teaching practice. It will be great if you set up a 21st century classroom. I know that Techno University of Education got some Techno grant to do the same. And the last one is that you have to set an agenda. Giving you proposals to 2030. That's about 9 years from now. For you to produce teachers who, when assessments have been done in Lagos State, in Nigeria, in Africa, they turn out to be the best. And when they are asked, where did you train? So I trained in the Corona College of Education. I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to give this lecture, and I look forward to interacting with you in the questions and answer session. Thank you.